Hi folks, we're going to take a look at this question here, which appears both on the Unit 5 Lesson 5 homework and the Unit 5 Lesson 6 um, lesson sheet. All right, so here we're given the equation for a stock that's fluctuating during the month of April. And what they have is set some sell and buy recommendations. So you're to sell the stock when the stock rises to $17 and then buy it when the stock decreases to $17. Okay, so we're definitely interested in when this function is going to have a value of 17, but it will make a difference whether it's rising to 17 or decreasing to 17. Okay, they want to know in the first 15 days of April when they should be buying and selling. So instead of solving anything first, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the problem. I'm going to use a diagram to help me figure out how to determine when to sell and when to buy. All right, so let's take a look at this function here. And let me get the main characteristics. So I've got my max, which is going to be my C value plus my amplitude. So 13 plus 5 is 18. And then my min is going to be 13 minus 5. So that's going to be 8. And then I've got my period, which is going to be 2 pi over the k value, pi over 3. Same as multiplying by 3 over pi. So these are going to go. This is going to be 2 times 3. So period is 6 days. All right. And of course, I've got my phase shift of 1 to the left. Okay, so real quick, sketch a graph here. I'm not going to worry at all about being precise. There's my min, there's my max, and there's my sinusoidal axis. Okay, and then I'm just going to sketch one. I'm going to sketch one cycle. So if this is 6, cut that down in half to 3. There's me 1.5, 4.5. All right. So as I usually do is I'm going to first sketch my unshifted graph. So since it's negative sign, I'm going to be starting at the axis, now going down to the min, back to the axis, up to the max, and back down to the axis. All right. So now I'm going to just be shifting everything 1 unit to the left. So this is about 1.5. So it's 2/3 of the way down. So this is going to be shifted about 2/3. This about 2/3. And I'm just going to shift all the points about 2/3 of the way. Okay. There you go. And again, just gives me something to work with. So there's one cycle of the graph. Okay. And what I'm interested in is when it reaches 17, which is here. Okay. And let's see what it says. Okay. When it rises to 17, so here, this is going to be a moment in which I'm going to sell. So I'm just going to indicate that here, sell. And then when it decreases to 17, that's when I'm going to buy. Okay. And what that does is it sets up my problem once I've solved the equation. And of course, the equation I'm going to solve is when it's actually equal to 17. I'm going to determine those time values where it's equal to 17. And then from my graph, I'm able to determine when I'm buying and selling. Okay. So let's do that here. So I'm going to set my V as 17. So -5 sine pi over 3 t plus 1. Okay, so I'll bring the 13 to the other side, which is going to give me 4, and then divide by -5. So I'm going to have -4 over 5 is equal to sine of this whole input here. Okay, now I'm going to go through my strategy for solving a trigonometric equation once I've got it down to a single trigonometric expression equal to a number. Okay, so this is, since I've got an application question, I'm going to want to approximate, and plus -4 or 5 doesn't correspond to a nice exact angle. All right, so let's take a look here. So inverse sine, check that my calculator's in radians. Yes, it is. So inverse sine of -4 divided by 5, and we get 0. We'll just say -0.93. Just go to 2 decimal places. Okay, so now remember that it's pi over 3 times t plus 1, which is going to be equal to -0.93, plus, of course, 2 pi n, since sine has a period of pi. And then we're going to use our identity, pi minus theta, which also has the same sign value. So here, I'm going to try to skip a step. So pi minus, my calculator's got the previous answer button that I could use. So that's 4.07 plus 2 pi n. Okay, so now I'm going to solve for t. So I'm going to do this, try to do this all in one step. So first of all, I know I'm going to have to divide by pi over 3, but I already know what 2 pi divided by pi over 3 is. So this is going to be plus 6n plus 6n. And so here, what am I going to do? Divide by pi over 3 and then subtract 1. Okay. In fact, I'll do the second one first since I have it on my calculator. So let's divide that by pi over 3. And then we're going to subtract 1. And that gives me 2.89. Okay, and now I'll do the same thing with the other one. So 0.93 divided by, negative 0.93 divided by pi over 3. And then minus 1. Minus 1. And we get negative 1.89. Okay, and of course I'm not going to be interested in negative 1.89, but I'm just using this to find my answers. And of course this is not pi over 3t plus 1. Now I've solved for t. Okay, so now I know that as this cycle repeats, this cell is going to be the first one that comes up, then the pi is the next one that's going to come up. So let me place these numbers here. So I know the first time it gets to 17 is going to be at 2.89, because obviously I'm not interested in this negative 1.89. So this here is at 2.89. And then when I'm going to buy for the first time, here is going to be, and this is where I'm going to add 1.89 or negative 1.89 plus 6. And there you go, 4.11. Okay, so these are going to be the first times that I'm going to sell and buy, and then I'm just going to add 6 to find the next answers. Okay, so let me create two sets of answers here. So we'll do sell. So sell is going to be at 2.89. Then we'll add 6. So what's that going to give me? 8.89. And then add 6 is a 14.89. Okay, good. And now I'm going to stop there, because obviously if I add 6, I'm going to be beyond the first 15 days. And then my buy is going to be at, where's the first one? 4.11. Then plus 6, which is 10.11. And then if I add 6 again, I'm actually going to be beyond. So in this area here, in this range here, there's only going to be these 2 buy ones. Okay, and I can certainly leave the answer like this. We'll say days from midnight April 1st, and I can leave my answer that way. Or I can give a more precise answer. I could give a date and time. Okay, so let's do that, even though this would likely be something that would be acceptable on a test, but let's see how we would turn this into actual dates and times. All right, so the thing you got to be careful here is that 0, okay, represents, midnight April 1st. So if I start here, so 1 actually represents, remember this, all of this represents April 1st. So when I get to 1, I'm actually at the end of April 1st and going into April 2nd. So then this is April 2nd. When I get to 2, I finish the first 2 days of April. So my first answer, 2.89, is actually going to occur somewhere on April 3rd, because the first 2 days of April have expired, and now I'm into the third day, which is April 3rd. So this is essentially telling us that whatever day we get here, the date is just going to be 1 more. Okay, so the only thing we have to do here is figure out what 0.89 of a day is. Okay, and so here 0.89 times 24 hours in a day is 21. Okay, and that's about That's a little more than 21, which is going to be 9 p.m. Okay, 2100 hours is 9 p.m. And yes, it's actually more. So I could go a little further and figure out how many minutes, but I'm just going to leave it. I'm just going to round this to 21 hours, which is 9 p.m. Okay, so for my cell count, we've got 9 p.m. Okay, since it's the same for all of these on. So since this is 2, it's going to be April 3rd. Okay, then plus 6, which of course is 9, and of course is going to be the ninth day, 9, and then 9 plus 6 is 15. Again, one more than this, and you might say, well, wait a minute, first 15 days. I remember the 15th day is not over yet, so I'm going to include this answer because it's still within the first 15 days. Okay, and so now for my buy, I'm going to do the same thing. So 0.11 obviously will be much earlier in the day. So 0.11 times 24, and that's about, looks like about 2:30 a.m. Obviously, it's more than 2.5, but we're not going to be so precise. I'll just leave that as 2:30 a.m. So 2:30 a.m. Okay, and this now is going to be on the 5th of April. Okay, and then plus 6 is going to give us the 11th April, which makes sense. It's the 11th day. And there's my answer. Okay, so just to recap. In terms of the calculations, we were interested in when this function was going to be equal to $17. So we solved for that. And then because we were distinguishing between when it increases to 17 as opposed to decreases to 17, that's where we use the graph to help us distinguish one from the other. Okay, that's it for this one.